What's up everyone and welcome back to Reload Reacts episode 64. My name is Trey and today we are going to look through r/PettyRevenge, the subreddit for those smaller victories over the people who wronged them. This first post is by NoRoutine7027. She charged me $1,200 in cleaning fees, so I cleaned her reviews. I rented a small event space for a surprise party. The place looked nice online, decent price, and the host seemed polite enough, until after the event. Out of nowhere, she hits me with a $1,200 deep cleaning bill. Said we left the place unusable, which was wild because we barely used the kitchen and left it cleaner than we found it. I asked for proof. She sent blurry photos of trash, not even ours. I appealed through the booking platform, denied. She was clearly running a side hustle. Scam a few hundred off each booking and hope no one fights too hard. So I did my own cleaning. I found her business on every platform I could, Yelp, Google, Facebook, event site, and left detailed, calm, 1-star reviews with photos from our event showing how spotless the place was when we left. Turns out, I wasn't the only one. My reviews picked up traction, others came forward with the same scam. Within weeks, her rating dropped from a 4.8 to a 2.9. Last I checked, she's offering 50% off all bookings. Guess someone's trying to clean up her reputation. Wow, maybe don't try to scam people. That is great. Now, someone you know should rent it out at the 50% and say how horrible the place is, even at a steep discount. Yeah, exactly. Someone said they should leave it in an actual mess as a joke, which is kind of funny, but, you know, you don't have to stoop to that person's level, you know? It'll be okay, OP. You're doing great. This next post is by Willet. Owner fired my dad, then came asking for work. Denied. Back in 1997, my stepdad was the operations manager at a company that did telecommunications work. He hired me to work at the company for the summer, but I ended up enjoying the work and made a career out of it. About 4 months into my employment at the company, the owner and my stepdad had a disagreement over something very trivial, and the owner fired my dad. Since he's my stepdad, we have different last names, and I didn't feel like I would get caught up in this issue. I had my own issues with this company as well, mostly not being paid correctly and being denied benefits that were promised. Ended up working for another 18 months for the company before I left to work for a major telecommunications provider that we had done some work for. At the new company, I eventually took a position where I was responsible for hiring contractors, much like the company my dad and I worked for, to do construction. One day I get a call out of the blue from the owner of the contractor company. He wanted to see if he could get on my list of approved contractors and was hoping we could discuss it over lunch. Typically a project of this type would be a $75,000 to $200,000 project, and I would do 20 to 30 projects per year, so it could be a lucrative source of revenue for them. I agreed to a lunch date with the owner at a fancy restaurant I always wanted to try. His pitch consisted of telling me what his company was capable of, how he valued his employees and took good care of them. He mentioned the other list of companies he's done work for and the quality of the work. I mentioned that I used to work for his company and he clearly didn't remember my name. I also asked if he remembered the guy who hired me, and he said he did. When I mentioned he was my stepdad, the look of panic in his eyes set in. He clearly remembered my stepdad. I closed out the lunch meeting with a thank you for the food and an apology that my contractor list was full of more capable contractors, but would keep him in mind if something were to change. Never heard back from him again. The top comment reads, "An agreeable, be nice to the people you see on your way up. You will see them again on your way down." Exactly, if you can rise, you have room to fall. This next post is by Substantial C0020. My roommate kept stealing my oat milk, so I switched it with watered down mayo juice. Ugh. He swore he wasn't touching it, but every week the carton got lighter. I put a sticky note on it. Didn't work. I moved it to the back of the fridge. Still vanished. So I got surgical. Took an empty oat milk container, filled it with a blend of mayo, warm water and a splash of vinegar for tang. Same colour, same texture, pure evil. Put it right up in front of the fridge, label facing out and waited. Next morning I heard it. Sip, gag, spit and cough. He slammed the fridge and shouted, "What the heck is wrong with this milk?" I just blinked at him and said, "I don't know, tastes fine to me." He learned his lesson and kept his hands off. "Thought you weren't the one touching the milk." Exactly, caught in 4K with a handful of mayo. This next post is by Best Spaghetti Western. Someone kept hitting their car door into my car while I was in it, so I returned the favour. Fair enough. I was parked in a student parking structure and was stuck on a phone call before heading out. There was an SUV that pulled in next to me, and for a few minutes one of the girls had her door open while she was looking through the back seat. The door kept banging into my car and I look over to see that she wasn't paying attention. When all was said and done, her other friend came out from the other side of the car and they both left. I noticed the friend pointing out that her door was hitting my car, and that's when she looked and saw me sitting in my car. I shook my head at her after seeing that she was chuckling at the situation. Didn't say anything because I was still on the phone. They were long gone by the time I finished my call, so I pulled my car to park on the other side of her car and proceeded to slam my door into hers repeatedly until some dents started caving in. My car's super old, so no biggie, but just because it's old doesn't mean people should be careless D's about it. Anyway, it went fine and I felt a lot better about the situation overall. Edit 2. Yes, this is a real story. No, I don't care about karma on Reddit, lol. I was on the phone with my provider after being on hold for a long time to go over my labs, so no, I sure as heck didn't hang up for that. The event happened months ago and I no longer go on that campus. Sorry if it bothers you that I got away with it. Hope that addresses all the frequently asked questions, and I'm glad this is a space for y'all to share your similar horror stories too. Aww, sweet. I actually had the same thing happen. I was sitting in my car waiting for my wife and this dumb F dude parks next to me, gets out of his car, and bangs his door into my passenger side door. I would have been okay with it, accidents happen, I get it. But this a-hole looks right at me and gives me the stink eye, like he's the one being put out. So yeah, his car got dinged that day. What is wrong with people? There are a lot of people in the world that just can't take responsibility for their own actions, so they blame everyone else, but it's shocking every time, no matter how much you see it, you know? This next post is by KARER3IS. My landlord thought he could pull one over on me, but ended up learning the meaning of, you should have read the fine print before you signed it. Edit for clarity, in Germany, it is common to have indefinite rental contracts, which do not have a set end date and remain in effect until termination, usually by the tenant. Wow, that's kinda nice. Some context, I live in Germany, which has extremely strong tenants' rights. I've been living in my apartment for about 8 years now. About 1 year after I first moved in, I got a letter from the company that owns my apartment building. In short, it said this: "Dear Mr. X, we are cancelling your existing rental contract. If you wish to continue renting this apartment, please sign this new contract with higher rent or move out within 30 days. This scared the heck out of me. I was living in a city where the rent prices were skyrocketing, and I only just managed to find a long-term apartment I could afford. As soon as I began looking at my options, it became clear that I was either going to have to fight what was essentially an eviction or move back to the US and start building my life again just after I had finally found some stability. After I asked around a bit, someone tipped me off to something called a Mieterverein, which is essentially a non-profit group that advocates for tenants' rights and gives its members the opportunity to get legal advice regarding their rights as tenants. I looked up one near me and booked it over to their office. I explained my situation, filled out some paperwork, and went to speak with the group's lawyer. I showed her the letter and my current contract, and she looked it over for a few minutes without saying a word. After what felt like an eternity, she looked at me and said in her most diplomatic German legalese, "You have nothing to worry about. This letter is BS. Admittedly paraphrased, but that's what it boiled down to. She then turned to a page of the contract and pointed out a single line in it. No changes may be made to this contract unless both parties consent to the proposed changes. In other words, as long as I refuse to sign the new contract, they can't do anything to me. The group's lawyer then sent a letter on my behalf to the company. I received a copy of it for my records, and essentially, it told the company that they would find themselves in some major trouble with the government if they continued to pursue the matter further. About a month went by and I heard nothing further. Then one day, a letter from the company arrived. The company basically admitted defeat and tried to cover its tail by saying that the letter was sent in error by an employee who is no longer with the company. For the next 7 years, it became an annual ritual. Company sends ominous letter telling me I'm getting kicked out. I forward the letter, and the lawyer sends them a letter telling them to stick that letter where the sun don't shine. And then, after attempt number 8, the lawyer sent them another letter telling them to cut the C and stop sending these letters every year. I haven't heard from them since. I'm glad that worked out for you, OP. I don't think we have something like that here. This next post is by Maybe Bat S. I've stopped using exclamation marks when responding to emails from my boss. My mum passed away last month and my boss was a real D about the whole situation. He's always been hard to work for, but he actually told me to get over it because her death was creating extra work for him. That was the straw, and this camel's back broke. I can't quit my job, but I'm taking steps to move to a better role, and I know I need to keep the peace till then. I always start emails with a positive first sentence. Something like a simple "good morning" or "I hope you're having a nice day." I still do this to emails on my boss, but I have omitted exclamation points entirely. I have been here over a decade, so it's extremely noticeable to anyone who works with me closely, and it's driving him crazy. His messages seem frazzled, and he's frantically using exclamation points in every email, something he has never done before. It's so stupid, but I can tell it's breaking him. Sorry for your loss, OP. It's kind of funny that is breaking him. Like it was that easy to break down his walls. That's wild. But I kind of love it, so good job, OP. Sorry for your loss once more. This next post is by a deleted user. Performer didn't realize I was the manager. Some years ago, my partner and I managed a bar and we had live acts every Friday night. We inherited a few bookings from the previous managers, but we honoured the bookings. One night we had a comedian who before us had performed regularly at the bar. Anyway, at the time I dressed like a student and had long dyed hair. The regulars all knew I was the manager and had no problems with my appearance. The comedian starts his act and spots me collecting glasses and proceeds to complain about students, how lazy they are, look at this one, can't get a proper job, what's with her hair, etc. No laughter, so he carries on laying into me. I smile and continue working. After the set, I walk over to give him his cash and he's already got more dates to book with us. The joy is I said, "No thanks, I'm the manager and I will never book you again." Watching his face fall was beautiful. Let's have a look at what the comments have to say. Joke's on him. That dude seriously thought anyone working in a bar is lazy? Did he only perform in churches and senior centres before this? What a D. He spotted an easy target, or so he thought. Read the crowd, dude. Read the crowd. I'm guessing that he had to get a real job after failing as a comedian. No one wants to work. Jokes and picks on someone actually working? I bet the rest of that set was equally hilarious. First of all, F him. Second, excellent a little more than PettyRevenge. Third, that's not even funny. That's the mark of a beginning comedian, going negative and picking on people. You were well shot of him. Crickets. Now he can get a real job. And with that, I think we're going to end it off here, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stories in r/PettyRevenge. Let me know what you'd like to listen to next in the comment section below, and also hit that subscribe button because I post new Reddit content every single day. There are 2 videos on the screen, one of which is for the most recent video and another is for a video the YouTube algorithm thinks you'll want to watch next. My name is Trey, this was Reload Reacts, and I will see you in the next video.